morning, and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. It's the middle of the week, Niel.
Peace and love, everybody. Welcome on in. We got lots of headlines to get to today on Let It Be Known. We're going to let you know the news that is impacting you, your community, your state, and your nation. That's what we're doing this morning.
That's what we're doing. As Wendy says, "How you doing?"
That's right.
What does our producer have for us this morning?
Confusing though to people to hear Trump saying like everything's fine. I don't know what you people are complaining about, and then hearing the vice president say, well, there is an affordability crisis.
I think they're two very different messengers. I think people know that Trump can be a little hyperbolic. Yeah. It's the best, it's the worst. He that's how he speaks. He speaks very plainly. Okay, he's certainly a compelling advocate for his beliefs. But look, obviously Vance understands how poor and middle class people are living. He's from a tough background, and so I think he maybe resonates more with those folks than Trump or anyone else does because of his background.
Good job. You tried it. It's confusing. Last week, President Trump said that affordability was a hoax. After Mandami won on the messaging of affordability, he went out and said it's a hoax, a hoax, a hoax. Now you have J.D. Vance who's saying it's not a hoax. It's actually affordability is an issue. And when I was here a couple months ago, remember, Scott, we were talking about healthcare reform. Remember when we did this thing called the government shutdown? And Republicans said they're going to be, having votes in good faith. And now here we are just today deciding that, no, they actually won't be doing anything to reduce health care. And that will be going up triple amounts in January. And that's not a hoax. That's an actual real thing. Yeah. It's actually going to hurt people. People are actually going to die. So this is no longer just a conversation on the cost of eggs and, J.D. Vance says this and all this. This is not a messaging issue. This is a real problem that people are feeling. Trump said day one, stand on it. You said day one, and here we are, day 365? Almost. Yeah. So no, it hasn't been fixed. And their messaging needs to get on point, but not just their messaging, their actual policy needs to be in place to fix the problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think it's confusing though to people to hear Trump saying like everything's fine,
I look at that and Tesla, obviously Tesla is 1000% correct. But I look at that and again, it takes me back here, Niel, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Trump couldn't have gotten away with all of this. Trump and his clan. You know why? Because you had an accountability factor in the media. This guy, the stuff that he's doing and not being held accountable by mainstream anybody, just sugarcoating it too, trying to explain it away. There's no explanation here. And we just don't have enough of you, myself, Roland Martin, Lauren Burke. We don't have enough of those people.
I think the tides are turning. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene told Caitlin Collins on CNN yesterday. She said the dam is broken. I said a couple weeks ago that Democrats should be talking about Donald Trump is a lame duck. Well, she said it yesterday. She said he's a lame duck. And she said you can expect to see more Republicans changing their minds about Donald Trump. I found that to be mind-shocking yesterday. I mean, she had better talking points than Democrats, and yet she had the Democrats' talking points yesterday. Everything that we talk about that we want to hear Democrats say, Marjorie Taylor Greene said them all yesterday. And I was just like, what happened to her? In a good way.
In a good way. Well, you remember it was just about a year ago, December of 2024, Marjorie Taylor Greene sat there in Congress and said if her Republican colleagues didn't leave Matt Gaetz alone, she was going to expose all of their crimes, including pedophilia and stuff like that. You remember, she has always claimed to have the receipts. And whatever happened to her, as you said, well, in a good way, she's starting to release some of these receipts, and they better be careful. She has to be careful, but they better be careful too.
Well, one of the things she said that disturbed her was that she started getting death threats, and it's like, well, welcome to our side of the table. But she said they started coming when she started talking and believing the women from the Epstein files. She said that the same thing that was happening to them started happening to her. And I think the death threat startled her. Like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got a taste of what it feels like to be an Epstein woman and to be a Black person, to be a poll worker.
Yeah.
In Georgia. You know what it feels like now, okay? Now, do I feel sorry for Marjorie? Am I siding with her just yet? No. But yesterday, she said, Caitlin Collins asked her, what do you expect the president to say tonight? Or because he's addressing the nation tonight. She said,
9 o'clock.
I want to hear him say that he's going to keep that plane in the hangar and stop talking to those Saudi Arabian people. I want to make sure that he's not, talking about foreign policy and talking about how to make the American people feel good again. That's what she said. She said 75,000 of my constituents are on the Affordable Care Act, and they're going to all be impacted by what is about to hit them. I mean, she laid it out. If anybody can go watch it, I recommend you watch it. The Democrats need to look at her, take notes, and start taking some of those talking points she was dropping yesterday.
Oh, you sounded just like her too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I was like, let me get a cup of coffee and listen to Marjorie.
It's like you said, welcome. As Bernie Mac used to say, white people, welcome.
And I'm glad, that I think it's smart for Jasmine Crockett to talk to her. I think it's smart to if it's what she says it is, it's okay to use Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And I don't think
that can help her get votes.
Yeah, I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is smart enough to use Jasmine Crockett. I think Jasmine will see right through if there's some nefarious thing going on.
I was talking about there. Jasmine Crockett.
No, I know. I'm saying I'm speaking to that. I'm saying that I don't think that that she would Jasmine. If this is a ruse, is what I'm saying. If this is some sort of game that Margie's playing, Jasmine will see right through it. I believe.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that she should talk to her. She should see where she's coming from. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Nicole says we need to see the tides start changing before I believe they really are. And besides that, the mainstream media is still doing the same old thing, not reporting and not holding him accountable. Yeah, they're just not. They're giving you this. It's like they're speaking in a way and they're reporting in a way that this is some normal stuff. And, hey, let's try and understand his point. No, not when people are dying, not when his policies are so reckless, and not when he has a bunch of people who he pulled out of the Cracker Jack box to put on his cabinet.
Well, I mean, like I said yesterday, I think the tide's returning. The Vanity Fair piece was a blow. I talked about it a little bit yesterday.
We have that coming up too. Yeah.
By the time it hit the news cycle, it was everywhere. I think Donald Trump's comments pissed a lot of people off, not just from Capitol Hill, but in Hollywood. So I thought it was interesting the way that Vanity Fair piece dropped out of the sky, out of nowhere. And then you had yesterday, Republicans, they had a little powwow on Capitol Hill yesterday. Okay, Republicans are pissed. And they had Mike Johnson in the room and they was like, look, bro, you did the wrong thing by not calling the vote on these subsidies because our constituents are going to be in our asses come the first of the year. And you're messing with our re-election. So Republicans are pissed. And Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about that yesterday. And she said, you're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, that's what I had been saying too, that the only real hope is that they start, and you are seeing some, to me, not nearly enough signs, but you're seeing some signs that they're starting to fear that we're getting too close to the midterms and our seats are up for grabs. And a lot of the polling, not that we trust the polling too much, but a lot of the polling suggests that if you didn't think that last month, November elections, those elections that were held last month was a signal, well, a blue wave would certainly be coming. But to your point, though, with this, the other side of the coin, I should say, with the healthcare situation and the voting and Mike Johnson saying that they're not going to have a vote, is this. Once again, the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries in particular, Chuck Schumer in particular, are so weak and feckless. During the shutdown, they claimed that they reopened the government. They agreed, they got their caucuses together to agree to reopen the government because the Republicans said they would take a vote. Number one, because they said they would take a vote was not enough reason. You held the fort all that time. It was not enough reason. And I get it. They're coming back saying, oh, it's the Republican shutdown, and it's this, it's that, it's the Republicans who are taking your health care. And all that may be true. But nobody's trying to hear that when you got a single mother of 4 going, and her health premium is $204 right now, and it's going up to $2,104. Nobody wants to hear that. And here's the other thing. How could you trust, and RNG mentioned this about Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't trust them. How could you trust that they would even follow through on their word? As we seen yesterday, Mike Johnson said, we're not voting on this. After agreeing, this is how we're going to reopen the government. We're going to have a vote. We'll give you a vote on it. They didn't even promise passage. And the Democrats folded like cheap suits. Now they're not even getting the vote. The little 2 cents that they were promised, they're like, nah, I got better things to do than worry about the American people and their health care.
Well, I think it's okay for at this point for Democrats to kind of, be quiet, because like I said yesterday, they said there was a rumble on the Hill and it was between Republicans because they're the ones that have the power, right? So if Democrats don't have the power, Republicans have it. And then there are some Republicans who are not saying anything publicly, but quietly, they're pissed off. And that's what you need. You need for it to start, crumbling within. And like I said, yesterday was a glimpse inside the crumble. Okay. The crumble is happening, especially like with Donald Trump, what that Vanity Fair did. It just, it took the hood off of some of the KKK members. That's what it did. And now all hell is breaking loose, mixed with Donald Trump's comments about Rob Reiner's family. All of that, I think, is becoming the perfect storm for the fall.
Yeah, I told you some of them were born with the hood on their heads. That's for sure. And for all of you pretend to be Black people out there who support this stuff, the Black unemployment rate, again, remember under Joe Biden, we had the lowest, and I'm not putting one candidate or the other, I'm just speaking facts. We had the lowest Black unemployment pretty much in history. Now, the Black unemployment right away, it's not even been a year since old man Biden went to the retirement home. It's not even been a year. Now the Black unemployment rate has again jumped up to where it's just untenable. The job numbers show that Black unemployment rate reached 8.3%, the highest it's been since the pandemic when everybody was unemployed. So folks, what are we doing about that? What are we saying about that? Oh, we want to complain about Jose and other immigrants who work hard, who pay taxes but don't get no benefits. Oh, they're stealing our jobs because that white man told you they were stealing your job. Give me a break. No, he's taking your jobs. He's taking it.
And we know part of that number has to do with a lot of the federal jobs that have been lost. And it's only going to get worse. Big major corporations are cutting back. And we see AI rolling in. We see the stories about robots replacing jobs. And then we know a lot of our jobs are sourced out to third world countries. That's why you get all those calls from people that you can't really understand what they're saying. And so there are a lot of factors that are going into this. And I think that was one of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lord knows why am I bringing her up again? But that's what she was talking about. Stop talking to all those. She said, get back to make America great again. You all over in other countries doing God knows what with all these foreign, dignitaries and so forth. And America is falling. Jobs are not there. Inflation is high. Affordability is not in the hands of the average American people. You're fooling around with too many big corporate people, and they're not thinking about the common person, the middle class person, the working person. And that is what these numbers are reflecting. All we hear about is big tech and all of these outsourcing that Donald Trump is doing to all of these big corporate entities. Meanwhile, you see statistics like this on the screen about the unemployment rates, going up.
Yeah, you have to be a special kind of stupid to let a billionaire who is basically assaulting your wallet, assaulting your family's wallet, to tell you that affordability is basically a myth. I mean, you have to be a special kind of stupid. That's how I see it, Neil.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this, Vanity Fair is all over the place. Susan Wiles or Susie Wiles. I don't know. Is she Susan or Susie? My name is not Susan. See, this guy named White House run on impulse and vengeance with the president. She compares to having an alcoholic's personality. Certain there's nothing he cannot do, and unmoved by attempts to restrain him. She says that she urged Donald Trump not to pardon the most violent January 6 attackers, not to rush tariffs amid deep internal fights, and to stop settling scores against his enemies. And he did it anyway. And on Jeffrey Epstein, well, here's the thing. Here's the big underlying factor here. Susie says that Trump has been flat wrong, stating there is absolutely zero. Now, this surprised me, Niel. This part right here: zero evidence that Bill Clinton ever went to Epstein's island, and nothing in the Epstein files that implicates Bill Clinton. She also says Attorney General Pam Bondi badly mishandled the Epstein matter, handing Trump supporters binders full of nothing. We knew there was nothing in those binders. We knew it. Just like those checks. So, but she went in, and then of course she's trying to backtrack, but she never, folks, in her backtracking, and I won't call it backtracking, but in the statements that she's put out since, saying that she didn't know they were going to use it this way, she never denied saying any of this stuff.
Yeah, she basically said it was taken out of context, but she didn't, and nobody is denying what she said wasn't true. That was the conversation all day yesterday. I mean, it started this morning. I mean, Vanity Fair dropped that like a bomb. Okay. I mean, just boom. And it was what made it very interesting is that she spent 11 hours, 11 interviews, 11 hours talking to this Vanity Fair reporter. He was on CNN yesterday talking to Anderson Cooper. He was also on Abby Phillips. And he was just saying that she felt very comfortable. They had 11 conversations. These conversations are recorded. Vanity Fair does have possession of them. They're not going to release them right now, but they may come out if they start saying that they're lies. And what was interesting is that he talked to everybody. It just wasn't her, but she was the one that kind of shaped the entire article because she had names for all of them, from the mouthpiece to the bulldog to the caddy. She called Russell Vought a zealot, okay? Mm-hmm. Which we all know, but to hear her say that,
right?
To hear her say that, Donald Trump going after Letitia James and James Comey was what he called retribution. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that Letitia James and James Comey can use in court. Because it's not really about, mortgage fraud. It's about him wanting retribution. His chief of staff said it. I mean, so she opened up this whole Pandora's box. And there was also a former press secretary, Trump's former press secretary that was on the show. And she said that Trump may appear to not have a problem with it. She said, but oh, baby. She said, and how they operate is, the ones that Susie was talking about, what they'll do is they'll keep pushing it in front of Donald Trump's face. They'll keep sliding the article in front of him, and they'll keep doing it until he explodes. So the White House is on fire. So don't be don't be surprised if he starts war tonight in his press conference, because he is pissed off, and everybody in that his inner circle that she talked about is mad as well.
Oh, the thing that I keep going back to is, first and foremost, how is everybody in his inner circle? Is everybody around him as hateful and racist as the chief of staff and Russell Vaught? Is everybody does anybody in that inner circle, not necessarily the inner circle, but within the cabinet with that who has a voice at some sort of voice? Are they at all like mortified by some of this stuff? And Susie Wiles comes out with something, and she says, like you said, okay, let's go to this, Charles Blow.
With Taylor Levitt, what's going on with these lips? I generally try not to.
That's funny. Okay, her lips. But the pictures, I think the way that they put this,
you interrupted my spiel for lips.
The way that they put this expose together, did this article, and the pictures that accompanied it, it was a response to me to Donald Trump calling the late Rob Reiner and his wife deranged and crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like, we're gonna show you what deranged and crazy looks like. Boom.
Yeah. The
it's
whole
you and your administration.
Yep. The whole administration is deranged and crazy. And we've been talking, Niall, and about Democrats, and a lot of folks believe that a changing of the guard from the old guard is desperately needed. I mean, we've seen the young stars like Maxwell Frost, of course. Jasmine Crockett is a superstar, and she's still young. But there are some that you kind of say, well, maybe it'd be okay to keep him around. And I think Bennie Thompson. And so what we do, we try to find out. And Evan Turnage is the director of the Southern Justice Project at the Open Markets Institute. He previously served as chief counsel for Senate Democratic leader Charles Schumer and senior counsel for Senator Elizabeth Warren. This morning, Evan is formally announcing his candidacy for Congress in a district occupied by a pretty popular Bennie Thompson. So we're going to welcome now, to let it be known, Evan Turnage as he discusses his bid. Evan, welcome.
Good morning, Stacey. Happy to be here.
Well, it's a thrill to have you, really. So I'm just going to jump right in. I know that you are very busy. This is a big morning for you. But Bennie Thompson is pretty popular, right? I mean, you're in Mississippi certainly more than I'm never in Mississippi, but it seems that we have two newspapers in Mississippi, and it seems that this is a pretty popular individual. He led the charge against Donald Trump and the January 6th. Give us, why are you challenging Congressman Bennie Thompson?
Sure. And so, this is the poorest district in the poorest state in America. And it's been like that my entire life. People up and down the Delta, people here in Jackson have real economic concerns. People have real concerns about job opportunity. I tell you, just last Sunday, I had a conversation with a grandmother in my church who's 75 years old. And she told me that she really laments the fact that she's watching her grandchildren grow up on social media, on Facebook and FaceTime, instead of having her family with her at church every Sunday. Because so many of our young people are encouraged to go away. So many of our young people are encouraged to get jobs elsewhere because there's a perception that opportunity exists outside of Mississippi. And I applaud all of my friends who stay. Of course, everybody doesn't leave, but so many of us do go away from time to time. And we need to make Mississippi more competitive with states like Texas, with states like Georgia. And it starts with having a plan for all of that. And so I'm running to give the people an alternative to the status quo. The same playbook from the 90s really won't work anymore. And it's about having plans to actually promote economic opportunity here in Mississippi.
Good morning, Evan. Welcome to Let It Be Known. And, congratulations on, stepping into this arena and running against somebody who just last week, went viral for, you know, his questioning of the FBI agent. What is your platform, and what can you offer Mississippians that Bennie Thompson is not already offering?
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of things really quickly. First of all, I'm running for a cleaner politics. So when I talk to people in Mississippi, they are frustrated with government because it hasn't worked. Right now, Republicans have complete control of government. Obviously, the president did not successfully lower grocery prices on day one, but I'm also reminded that Democrats had complete control of government just 4 years ago. And unfortunately, Democrats did not restore voting rights. Democrats did not increase the minimum wage. And so when I talk to people here in Mississippi, they are so frustrated with broken promises. And that is because we have a broken system. I think everybody understands that. We have politicians who are bought and paid for, who are doing the work of corporations instead of their constituents. Unfortunately, we have a congressman here who has taken millions of dollars from corporations, including insurance companies at a time when premiums are going up, including even private prisons, which is really regrettable. The very institutions recreating slave conditions for Black people here in Mississippi.
Mm.
And so I'm not going to take a dime of corporate money. I'm going to fight to ban corporate money in politics. I'm going to fight to ban members of Congress from stock trading because we need to ensure that our public officials actually are working for the people. We have to restore trust. So that's number one. But I'd also say voting rights. It's clear that Mr. Thompson has uh, a good record, a strong record of being a civil rights champion, you know, his work back in the 70s. But when I look at the most important thing that a member of Congress can do is use their vote. And I was incredibly disappointed to see Mr. Thompson vote against the most important voting rights bill of the last 50 years. It's a bill called the For the People Act. And let me tell you a little bit about how that would have benefited people in Mississippi. We have no early voting in Mississippi. It's routinely considered the hardest state in the country to vote in. That bill would have given us 15 days minimum. Texas has early voting, Georgia does, Virginia does, but we don't in Mississippi. It would have gotten rid of gerrymandering once and for all, the very tactic that Mr. Trump is trying to ramp up across the nation. Unfortunately, Mr. Thompson voted against that, the only Democrat in the country. And it also would have restored voting rights to people who have previously served time in prison. That's over 10% of our population in Mississippi disenfranchised for that simple fact. But Mr. Thompson voted against it. And so I think the people in this state deserve answers for why our congressman voted against making it easier to vote in Mississippi.
First of all, let me say I like what you said. I don't know if it was intentional. I think it was intentional, but he has respect for what Bennie Thompson did in the 70s. Kind of highlighted the 1970s. Did this young man here saying, "Hey, it's our time now." Evan, so questions are bound in our chat here, and I see our colleague at Black Virginia News is asking a couple of those questions, and one of the questions she poses is Lauren Burke, who is the publisher over there. What should Bennie Thompson be doing that he isn't doing? And I think you kind of ran some of it down, but is there something else that you see that is lacking in the incumbent right now?
Well, I think people these days are looking for a congressman who's going to fight for them. I think about grocery prices because that's the number one concern when I talk to people in the district. Think about the pandemic times. We caught the CEO of Kroger, which is a very popular grocery store down here in Mississippi, bragging that a little bit of inflation was good for business. He was saying the quiet part out loud. They were jacking up prices because there was an inflationary environment, using it as a pretext to charge more to consumers. Well, that's called price gouging, and it's supposed to be illegal. It's supposed to be illegal here in Mississippi and 40 other states. Unfortunately, we don't see enough enforcement of those laws. That's why back in 2022, I wrote with Elizabeth Warren the Price Gouging Prevention Act to say we're going to prohibit that at the federal level. We're going to have real penalties. That bill was so popular that Vice President Harris made it a centerpiece of her campaign when it came to grocery prices. Unfortunately, we have a congressman who's taken thousands of dollars from Kroger. I never will. But I think people want to see their Congress people, their representatives, their elected officials stand up to cheating corporations, to actually take the fight to cheating corporations that are exploiting our community. You know, I learned from people like Elizabeth Warren. You stand up to the big cheating banks. You stand up to the exploitative corporations that are sucking resources out of communities.
One of the questions in the chat was, are you taking APAC money? And then the second part of the question that I want to know, have you been able to garner any endorsements from any elected officials, or you have the collective PAC, you have these powerful PACs across the country. Do you have any endorsements from them?
So I won't be taking any of that money, but we do not have any endorsements from elected officials yet, but we will be rolling those out in due time.
But you're basically rolling out your campaign this morning, right? Am I correct? So the endorsements, we couldn't expect any to have any at this second, I
Oh yeah.
guess.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But another question though, and we haven't talked about this recently, and we haven't talked about it enough, in my opinion. Mississippi, of course, is the home of Brett Favre. And that situation has seemingly, let's face it, we're talking about Trump prosecuting people or trying to have people prosecuted for alleged mortgage fraud, and then we had the SNAP situation. Brett Favre was accused and has been accused in essentially $100 million welfare scheme. What is the latest there that you know of, and what would you do to stop people like a Brett Favre and others from engaging in such conduct, to deter them from engaging in such conduct?
Well, first of all, that was such a travesty. So you're referring to the TANF scandal that was uncovered
Yes.
a few years ago here in Mississippi, where about $100 million that was designated for people who really need it. This is for needy families who need food, who need clothing. Uh, Fewer than 2% of those people actually got those funds, I believe. It was spent on speaking fees for Brett Favre. It was spent on a volleyball stadium construction, things that it was not designated for. And so, to my awareness, nobody has gone to prison for those crimes, and that's a shame. That's something that was being handled at the local and state level. So I'm not exactly sure what the state of that investigation or process is, but nobody's gone to prison. It was a crime. Uh, and we've got to do more to actually oversee federal funds and to manage it better. But we could also go back to the old way. Before we passed some legislation in the 90s that really brought in state managers to the process, that money used to go directly to people. It used to go directly to the recipients. And so we could go back to the way of actually making sure that federal dollars go right to the bank accounts, to the checkbooks, to the mailboxes of the people who need them.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Go ahead, Nia.
So what is your every campaign has a slogan. What's your what is your platform? What are your top 3 priorities? If you were elected into Congress, what would be your top 3 priorities?
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one, I mentioned this earlier, we've got to clean up government. We need a cleaner system of politics. That means getting corporate money out of politics. I have been somebody who worked at high levels in the Senate, and I have seen, across my years, whether we're talking about House members or Senate members, uh, there are a lot of people who won't stand up to the corporations that they're taking money from. That's just a fact. And I think it will be a lot cleaner and it would promote trust in the government if we just did more to restrict and eliminate corporate money in politics, period. The second piece is economic opportunity. We need to actually hold accountable the corporations that are cheating us, that are jacking up prices illegally. I mean, we're talking about basic rule of law. I'm a lawyer, and if I commit a crime, I'm going to lose my law license and I'm going to go to prison. I'm not going to be able to work in my profession anymore. On Wall Street, we have crooks who are committing financial crime with impunity, who get little slaps on the wrist, don't have to admit any sort of wrongdoing. So we've got to get tough on corporate crime. And I would say the third piece is a strong, unwavering commitment to voting rights. We have got to strengthen our democracy. We've got to stand up to a rogue Supreme Court that is trying to eradicate the Voting Rights Act, as I'm sure you've heard about some of the latest developments there. And we need members of Congress who are actively thinking about court reform as well, because it's tied directly to the success of our democracy.
Yeah. Another issue in Mississippi, um, and I wonder what your take is on the future, and it shouldn't be, in my opinion, a future, but a future of the Parchment Prison.
Yeah, I think here in Mississippi, uh, we have over surveillance, over policing, over incarceration of Black people. And it's a travesty. It is a way, as I mentioned, we have private prison interests here as well that are making it such that Black people and other people who are incarcerated are essentially subjected to slave conditions. They're having to work for, pennies on the dollar, if even pennies, and it's dehumanizing. It's unacceptable. I would say it's a violation of constitutional rights. But of course, we can't trust necessarily the federal judiciary to save us from that these days. But we've got to do more to get rid of the over policing of Black people. And I'm not saying anything about, you know, not addressing violent crime. We certainly have that here in Mississippi. But I would say it doesn't make sense when we have people going to prison for being homeless, people who go to prison for, you know, being drug users instead of focusing on rehabilitation. And so those sorts of things really devastate Mississippi families.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Well, we know you have lots of things to do this morning as you launch your candidacy for Congress. We wish you the best of luck and look forward to having you back on the show.
You do have a
Thank you
secret
so
weapon,
much.
though. You know you have a secret weapon, though. I'm not
What's
gonna
that,
name
Stacey?
her. I'm not gonna name her, but you know who I'm talking about, the one that put this interview together. So congratulations, Evan. I know there's a lot of skeptics. And we'll see what happens. We hope that you'll be open to coming back and talking to us as your campaign moves on.
Hey, let me just say, we're going to win this by talking to the people. It's up to the people. They will make a decision, and we're going to meet the people where they are.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Evan Turnage, the candidate now for the Mississippi District 2 seat. They're held by Bennie Thompson. So we'll see how that shakes out, folks. We appreciate Evan joining us this morning.
Yeah, and more headlines. Speaking of Congress, Congress member Ayanna Pressley is raising the alarm with a report called Trump's Clemency Gap. Now, according to the new report compiled by Pressley, 85% of those pardoned or granted clemency by Trump this year have been white people. Okay, 85% of pardons and clemencies have gone to white people under Trump. And most of those were January 6 rioters. They made up about 90% of those that benefited from the pardons. And in her report, Pressley highlighted the disparity, noting that white people make up just a quarter of the general federal population, while Blacks make up 34%, Hispanics 36%. So Ayanna Pressley is raising the alarm about the disparities of these pardons. And when we look at, what's happening under this Trump administration, we were talking about AI yesterday, just the disparities of how this administration is running this country. It clearly disenfranchises and attacks people of color.
Yeah, I think you said it all. It brings to mind the other day I saw a little clip, and it's probably a few months old now, when the Chrisleys were pardoned, and the wife was saying, "Listen, I didn't sleep with anybody for a pardon or anything like that." And Chris, is that his name, right? Chris Chrisley. What's his name? The Chrisleys, Todd Chrisley, or whatever his name is. He goes, he would have. So, but the point is that these clemencies, these pardons, or whatever, just follow the money.
A civil rights lawsuit is alleging the Missouri West Point Community Improvement District conspired to exclude Black businesses owners from one of Kansas City's most popular entertainment districts. Now, what they're saying is the West Point used discriminatory practices on Black-led ventures. They claim West Point questioned prospective tenants about the type of music they would play, the crowd they expected, and whether the business would attract hip-hop crowds. Now, these allegations that the plaintiffs are saying, they say it reflects bias gatekeeping, and the plaintiffs are seeking $70 million.
Wow. Now, you talk about discrimination. There's a newspaper there in Kansas City that I'm sure is all over this, because they're over everything Black. It's the Kansas City Call, and they do investigative journalism. They are a Black-owned paper that does investigative journalism. Check them out, and I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
find more in this story.
But I mean, and these are the things, like we had the guest on Alfonso last week, talking about the impact of these rollouts to this Trump administration, or how the impact that it's going to have on people of color, and then we hear stories like this, to where, they're asking them, what type of music are you going to play?
Mhm.
Is it hip hop? Who do you plan to attract? I mean, we're going to see a lot more stories like this under all of these rollouts and rollbacks of DEI, and the power that you see people of color like building Black businesses, growing. This is the type of thing that we're talking about.
Without
They're
question.
being empowered to block us from growing.
Yeah, without question. Without question. And you're right. I think that's a really good connection with the rollback of DEI and all of that stuff. You're going to see this stuff happen even more so. And of course, there's no civil rights division of the Justice Department anymore, at least not for people of color.
All right, let it be known, family. Have you heard of Barbara Rose Johns? Well, she helped change the course of American history, and yesterday, her legacy was cemented inside the U.S. Capitol. Now, a statue was unveiled, replacing two statues representing Confederate General Robert E. Lee. I don't know how this got past the Trump administration. I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but I'm glad it did. So basically, in 1951, Johns led a student walkout at her segregated Virginia high school, and that bold act helped spark the legal challenge that became Brown versus the Board of Education, and we know how that went. And so yesterday, I wish we Hakeem Jeffries, Greer, if you could find it on his page, he had he had a great speech, and he really broke down what her contributions were, why this moment was important yesterday in the Capitol, and that we were able to see something like this happen under all the racist acts that this Trump administration is pushing out. This was a good day at the Capitol.
Yeah, I get it. You got past, somehow they got it past there. That's like I said, don't tell nobody now.
Yeah, it's there now, and it's a beautiful statue too. Greer had just showed it. It's a really
Yeah.
beautiful statue, and it's something to see. Now let's lighten things up with a little entertainment news. Netflix has announced Snoop Dogg will perform during its NFL halftime Christmas game, the Lions versus the Vikings, and we know Beyonce kicked this new tradition off. Last year was the first year that Netflix aired a Christmas Day NFL game. So now they're coming back this year with Snoop Dogg, and of course Jesse Collins and his company are producing the halftime show.
Okay. Snoop is always in the middle of something.
He is. And thanks to Beyonce, she kicked that off. And speaking of Queen Bee, her Cowboy Carter tour finished as Polestar's top tour of 2025. Now, the tour generated 407.6 million, selling 1.6 million tickets despite playing only 9 stadiums and 32 shows. Now, Cowboy Carter is now the highest grossing country tour ever, and she became the highest grossing R&B artist in history. It also makes her the first woman and first American act with 2 tours surpassing 400 million following the 2023 Renaissance Tour. Now, if this isn't the American pie, the American dream that all the cowboys and cowgirls talk about, I don't know what is.
All righty then. Like I said, the Met Gala is coming up. She's going to be at the Met Gala. And Solange, I just want you and Jay-Z to, have peace.
Mm-hmm. I think that also what makes this important is that country music, and country artists, wanted to dog her about this
Of course.
album and all of that. And here it is. Her tour has grossed more than any cowboy tour
Country.
ever. Okay, so kudos, and that's a good way to end the year, Beyonce. And speaking of breaking records, Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas
Oh
Is
Lord.
You" adds another milestone, becoming the first song to spend 20 weeks atop of the Billboard's Hot 100. There is no Christmas right now without Mariah Carey. Period. She is Miss Christmas. She is Merry Christmas.
Oh, I can do without Mariah Carey. I'm sorry. I can listen. Rihanna likes her, so I guess there's a good thing. There's something good about her. But other than that, Nick Cannon used to be married to her, so maybe there's something good. I don't know. I'm not a Mariah Carey fan.
And those are your headlines for today.
And those are your headlines. Yeah. Speaking of music, Miel, what other than Beyonce, to you this year, what music stood out for you? Whose music stood out for you?
I mean, it's a lot of good music. You have Cleo Soul, you have Robert Glasper. Last night, I just went to go see Terrence Martin for the second time this month. Andra Day was there. I mean, there's a lot of good music out there.
Okay,
a lot of good music.
Yeah, I was just curious as we wind down the year. Folks, since you mentioned Mariah, in fact, Dr. Marilyn says Mariah is great in concert. Music that may have surprised people, may have stood out. Michelle Madison said Kendrick Lamar and Glorilla.
Glorilla. Well,
Yeah.
Glorilla gets it for the face card this year.
Is that right?
She did a 365-degree change in her appearance.
Well, I guess it was good then, because you said she gets it for the face card. Is that
well? I mean, because she had like major face surgery. That's all.
Did it come out all right?
I mean, yeah, she looks good. She looks good. Kris Jenner looks good. Her facelift looks good.
Pam says October London. Who's October London?
He's like the new Croner. Like they compare him to Marvin Gaye. He gives you those silky soul singer vibes.
He's on Snoop's label.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So Snoop know what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of good music that came out this year from different artists.
I saw, and I'm gonna go back to your comfort zone, your comfort food. I saw Beyonce's dad, Matthew, make some comments that I agree with wholeheartedly. He said that he didn't get the credit that he deserved, and others. He said he mentioned a couple of others. I think he mentioned Usher's mom didn't necessarily get the credit she deserved, and someone else he mentioned, but they were specifically talking about the 2000s. He said Destiny's Child didn't get the credit they deserved, and Beyonce in the 2000s, early 2000s, didn't get the credit she deserved. He felt that she was like the artist of the decade. He should have been manager of the decade. What do you think of that? Because you know that stuff better than me when it comes to the Carter folks.
I mean, everybody has their opinion. I mean,
okay.
Most people, most people don't get the credit they deserve. Welcome to reality. Millionaire, not a millionaire. That just shows you how life works. You don't always get the credit you deserve. And I think that shows you that rich people go through the same things that regular people go through. It's people who don't get credit they're supposed to get on their jobs. You know what I'm saying? So, welcome.
Wow.
Welcome to, welcome to, reality. And I think that's what keeps you grounded.
Wow. All right. You heard Matthew. Sometimes Matthew might be listening, Neil.
Well, I didn't say anything. I mean, I think he would say the same thing if you know the type of person. I think he would say the same thing. At the end of the day,
yeah,
such is life.
I think he wasn't necessarily just focusing on himself. in that clip that I saw, he was responding to a question about black managers because he talked about New Kids on the, I think it was New Kids on the Block, uh,
Mhm.
and Justin Tim and Sync, and someone else, and how they, oh, the management team is this and that and so great, and but when it comes to like he or Usher's mom or another, I can't remember the other black entertainer he mentioned and their parents, they just, who are managers, they just overlooked them, totally overlooked them, as if they, they had Beyonce's credit for Beyonce and credit for Destiny's Child to maybe the label or something, and not the manager, because the manager is black and happens to be the parent. So,
Mhm. I mean,
so
I mean,
I,
that's
I got what
just
he was saying.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure, and you know this better than all of us. I mean, the Jacksons, Joe Jackson. I mean, it's the same thing. When he didn't feel like he got the credit he deserved, So I mean, I think it just happens.
Mhm.
I mean, look at Britney Spears' fault. I mean, I don't even think it's a color thing sometimes. I just think sometimes the parents, when they're involved, it just kind of turns out that way.
Mhm. Destined Forever, Stephanie Humphrey's channel says, I don't think Brother Matthew has received the credit he deserved. It's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of them out there that have not received, didn't receive proper credit, or any credit, for that matter. And I don't think we would have known a whole lot about King Richard until the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that
they
is true.
just yeah, it just happens that way.
Yeah. Some Black history facts on this date, folks. Back in 1913, James P. Thomas died at the age of 86. Well, who is James P. Thomas, you might ask? He was born in 1827 in Nashville, Tennessee. He was the son of antebellum Judge John Catron and an enslaved mother, Sally Thomas, who purchased his freedom when he was just 6 years old, even though Tennessee law did not legally free him until March of 1851. He apprenticed to a barber named Frank, and he became a successful barber and businessman, opening a barber shop in the home where he was born near Nashville's courthouse and state capitol. He served powerful clients and became the only free black man allowed to remain in Nashville. And after he left Tennessee, he built his vast wealth through real estate, railroads, and insurance in St. Louis. And at one point, controlling an estate valued at the time of $250,000, which would be about what, 30, 40, $50 million today. And he
Mhm.
led black society in the city. And this guy, he had assets when he died of over $100,000 in assets. So he has a book, folks. He left behind also his autobiography, From Tennessee Slave to St. Louis Entrepreneur is the name of the book.
Mm. And on this day, fast forward to the year of 2002, Robert Johnson, founder of Black Entertainment Television, became the first African American majority owner of a major professional sports team. And this happened when his group was awarded the NBA Charlotte expansion franchise. So Bob Johnson became the first, not only in Black entertainment, but also in sports.
Yeah.
So that's what happened on this day.
And at some point, Michael Jordan bought controlling interest in the Charlotte franchise, and ultimately he sold it as well. But that's a good Black history fact.
Yeah, Dr. Marilyn said, but when do managers get credit anyway? They should be satisfied that they managed excellent artists. Take a bite of humble pie.
Mm.
And that is from the desk of Dr. Marilyn.
I will never forget, on that note, Michael Jackson's longtime manager, Frank DeLeo, and at the height of it was the Bad Tour, and someone asked him what there was rumors that he was going to be fired by Michael or he was going to leave, and he said, I will. He said, I ate before Michael Jackson came along, and I will eat after he leaves. And Frank had trouble eating after him and Michael Jackson split, so. I knew Frank pretty well too. He was a good guy. Frank DeLeo actually played in Goodfellas, and he was a interesting Italian man who lived in Pittsburgh. A good guy.
Mhm.
Good guy. He was a really good guy. So
Yeah.
managers can be nice guys.
Well, you may not be able to find Frank on Black Press USA, but there's a whole lot of other news on Black Press USA. And so if you want to learn more about Evan, who's running against Bennie Thompson, you can find an article about him and all of the things that are impacting and uplifting the Black experience. You can find it at blackpressusa.com.
Yeah, thanks for watching, folks. We will see you again tomorrow.